little check. قلنا anglais عربية. C'est bon. Alors, il y a quelqu'un qui m'a demandé le français. Sur quelques concepts, les slides, de toute façon, the slides are in French, actually. So I can do it all in English. But feel free if you have any question, you can, do it just in Arabic, in French, in English. That's totally fine for me. But just to keep a kind of homogeneity in the presentation, I will switch between English and Arabic, and let's see at the end if there is special questions. So I'm Assia Roby-Mouloudi. I thank you very much for having me today. Thanks for Karim and the great team of Brenco for inviting me. I can go next slide. So I'm here to talk about how design thinking can help you, but a few words about me. So I'm Algerian. I'm very proud Algerian. I live in Paris and work for a software company. I grew in just زدت في الجزائر زدت في الجزائر زدت في وهران وكبرت في الجزائر وانا اصلي من بلاد القبائل. وهاد لا سلايد حطيتها باسكو سي لا سلايد اللي نخدم في اون كومباني وورلد وايد اي من داك يقولوا لنا فوالا بريزونتي ومنين راكو جايين اي تو اي انا سوفون جو بريزونت ندير هاد لا سلايد باسكو ان فيت بلادي شابه بلادنا شابه بصح ماشي بهاد الكوتي اللي نفتخر محسوب البحر الصحراء تو هذا يعني gift it's God's gift الحمد لله بصح حنا ما درنا والو en fait. أنا الافتخار تاعي في الجزائر هي it's the people of my country. على بها راني فرحانة بزاف اليوم. كريم قال لي نجي نقصر معاكم على l'entrepreneurial social والخدمة تاعكم باش en fait نتوما تحميو واش عطانا ربي سبحانه. Donc voilà, راني vraiment فرحانة نكون معاكم. Je vous félicite. I really congratulate you for your projects. I listened to the replay yesterday, and I'm very proud of the young people of my country to preserve this beautiful country God gave us. So as I said, next slide, please, Noor. So I'm coming. So I grew in Algiers. I'm an engineer. I graduated from جامعة العلوم والتكنولوجيا هواري بومدين من الجزائر. أكا باب زوار. أنا un ingénieur en automatique et système contrôle. وكي قريت في باب زوار mon projet de fin d'études كان على نسميوها دوكا artificial intelligence and neural network. و artificial intelligence هي en fait كيفاش نعلموا les ordinateurs يخمموا كيما العباد. C'est un travail voilà كان vraiment un projet حبيته بزاف بصح en fait فقت العمري باللي en fait الذكاء الطبيعي هو أكبر بزاف. He's so much powerful than machines, machines can do. And then I came to France and I joined the Université de Technologie de Compiègne. C'est une école d'ingénieurs. وين قريت درت un PhD في human machine interaction. Human machine interaction يعني كيفاش نديروا des services digitaux et des méthodologies باش mon PhD c'était la modélisation des stratégies humaines, c'est-à-dire كيفاش يخمموا العباد باش يديروا problem solving ونعلموا les machines يديروا كيما حنا en fait. C'était mon PhD جوزت فيه 5 سنين ومن بعد خدمت في l'industrie في الكونساي d'abord. خدمت في الكونساي aux entreprises باش نعاونهم في la transformation digitale et tout. وعندي 9 سنين دركا هاد العام راني نخدم عند SAP. C'est un éditeur de logiciels. c'est le plus gros éditeur logiciel européen. رانا 100 000 dans le monde وأنايا نخدم في une petite partie تاع SAP هما les logiciels تاع analytics et artificial intelligence. حطيتكم هاد التصويرة تاعي وعلاش باسكو دوك نهضروا بزاف على البروتوتيباج وهاد التصويرة تاعي c'était exactement واحد une séance de prototyping وين سيينا la réalité augmentée في un logiciel. Et en fait نهضروا بزاف على البروتوتيباج في هاد لا بريزونطاسيون باسكو سي تري امبورطون بصح هي كي تشوفها سا ليغ تري محسوب well refined mais en fait كانت une fonctionnalité برك ديفلوبيناها باش نتيستيوها وكنت نسمع لسفيان juste avant en fait c'est un argument de vente بهذاك اللي قلنا اوكي اسكو نديماريو البروجي ولا لا donc next slide alors donc انا je suis ingénieur نخدم في la R&D research and development في SAP وفي SAP عندنا لا شانس في une partie تاع الخدمة تاعنا enfin ماشي une partie تاع الخدمة تاعنا on top of the job c'est-à-dire في la pause تاع 12 في الليل في les week-ends en fait نقدروا نعاونوا des entrepreneurs sociaux c'est-à-dire أنايا ديجا في الخدمة تاعي ندير l'innovation في les logiciels تاوعنا واش نزيدوا ندخلوا فيهم etc بصح c'est des gros logiciels c'est des logiciels B2B pour les entreprises en général c'est des trucs assez compliqués وكي قصرت مع كريم على هاد لا سيسيون en fait قصرنا باسكو على بالو بلي je suis très investie في l'entrepreneuriat social هنايا في فرنسا où j'ai été mentor de plusieurs entrepreneurs sociaux بداو من والو و en fait حنايا في SAP يعيطوا لنا on appelle ça le mécénat de compétences skill volunteering c'est-à-dire que رانا un groupe volontaire نروحوا مع les entrepreneurs ونخمموا معاهم كيما يديروا معاكم Brenco engineering باش نديفلوبيو معاهم leur idée من الستاتيو تاع بذرة باسكو l'idée وحدها هي بذرة حتى تولي une belle plante ان شاء الله وديروا غابة ان شاء الله بلي idées تاعكم. Et donc أنا خدمت في quelques projets خدمت تان في par exemple درنا les cours à distance مع les camps de réfugiés. علاش درت كاع هاد لي زيكزامبل باسكو كريم صباح كان يهضر على en fait giving back et la dette sociale qu'on a envers le monde كل واحد يدير واش يقدر في le monde باش le monde هذا يولي a better place to live. Donc pendant هاد لا بريزونطاسيون درت لكم شويه الباك تاعي وانا هاد لا بريزونطاسيون ماشي ما شفتهاش كشغل درس باسكو ما عندناش الوقت باسكو ديزاين ثينكينغ هو يعني يديروا فيه دي شير على l'université ديروا لي في الشات ولا بين داك نهرب بالفرنسي ولا ما تفهموش فوالا جوستومون هاد لا بريزونطاسيون انا نحبها انتراكتيف تما سييت ندير لكم لي زيدي اللي رايح ينفعوكم في البروجي تاعكم. Donc, n'hésitez pas, أنا عندي des exemples تاع plusieurs startups, عندي des exemples تاع أنايا خدمتي au quotidien نستعمل design thinking في الخدمة تاعي. صح ولا عندكم des questions précises ولا des trucs très pratiques ديروا لي la question في الchat ونسيي نعطيوكم شغل les choses concrètes باسكو على بالي أنايا les entrepreneurs عندكم des questions concrètes يلزم لكم des réponses concrètes. بصح في هاد لا بريزونطاسيون لازم تفهموا تما العقليه تاع ديزاين ثينكينغ باسكو ديزاين ثينكينغ فريمون عقليه ماناش نخدموا دركا لي زونتربريز ولي سيرفيس ولي برودوي كيما كنا نديروهم بكري سي اون فري روبتور ميثودولوجيك هاد ديزاين ثينكينغ بدلنا كومبليتمون كيفاش رانا نديروا لي برودوي ولي سيرفيس. دونك هيا نبداو فيها جامبين next slide. Alors, وشنو هو design thinking هذا؟ كما قلت لكم design thinking c'est vraiment بدل بزاف حوايج alors نهضر لكم على لاندستري اللي نعرفها انايا لاندستري تاع السوفتوير تاع لي لوجيسيال. En fait design thinking بدل complètement la conception تاع لي لوجيسيال au point que كنا نديروا ولا تعرفوا لي certification PMP par exemple نديرو gestion de projet, la planification, كلش مديسيدي à l'avance, نديرو كاع les risques, نليستيوهم, نديرو les plans de risk mitigation, نديرو كلش à l'avance ومن بعد نديرو البرودوي. دركا alors design thinking جا مع واحد لا ميثودولوجي بلو لارج هي agile methodologies. ودركا même PMP les certifications PMP عندهم une partie agile. agile يعني ما تعرفش كلش dès le début, des fois ما تعرف même والو en fait dès le début. وشنو دير en fait il faut être malin في les projets agiles ou في l'agilité en général. نحوسو la partie اللي فيها le plus de valeur. نحوسو vraiment le core business وين كاين le plus de valeur. هذاك نبنيوه كما قال سفيان من قبل, نديرو بوك نسيو نبيعوه ومن بعد نبنيو فوق هذاك. surtout très important, we gather feedback on this core value of the product. Feedback is very, very important in design thinking. We used to say that feedback is a gift. It's the best gift that someone can give you on your product or service is to give you feedback. So feedback allows you to build on the core of your product and make it grow step by step. Next, so what is not design thinking first? So when we talk about design, everyone think about, a nice design, something beautiful. But in design thinking, it actually, like I said, it's being smart. It's being optimizing the effort to find solutions that have real value for the end user. And it's not about thinking, it's about doing. It's about prototyping, and it's a real mindset of humility, because you build things that are not actually beautiful and you test them with people that gives you feedback. So you accept that people criticize your product, and it's really a mindset to have. Next, so why people think about creating this new methodology? Again, in the past, they were a very, in French, we call that conception réglée, meaning that it's this waterfall design of product. We decide everything in the beginning, then we produce it, and then we put it in the market. It's kind of caricature, but it was more or less the situation. But now it has been observed that the best product actually has to mix 3 capabilities. In the past, when we were in waterfall, designing product was led by experts. When we design a product, we call the expert. The expert knows everything. He knows how things have to be done, and then he specifies everything in documentation. He gives that to developers, and developers develop. It's more or less the way the thing was done. But actually, the change with design thinking is that there is, of course, this part of feasibility, whereas the experts say, okay, the things have to be done this way and this way in order to be feasible. But it's not actually sufficient. We have also to discuss with people from the business, because beautiful things. Hello. It's all good. You still hear me, Noor?
Hello.
Hello.
On invite Khalida à désactiver le micro, s'il vous plaît.
Voilà, je viens de désactiver son micro.
Yeah, it's all good.
Désolée.
You still hear me?
Oui. Yes.
Ah, cool. Yeah, like I said, in the past, we used to think that product have to be done by expert, by engineers, by, these expert guys most of the time. But now we understood that actually we have also in the design process discuss with people from the business, because a beautiful product which is not able to be sold, actually it's not sustainable. It's not scalable, like Sofiane was saying, but it's also not sustainable actually. And the third part, which is very, very important and very new to the engineers, is that we have to take care of people. You can think about, yeah, but in the past, aren't we were thinking of people? Actually, yes. When you see this old software, it's obvious that people didn't think that real humans will use these tools. But now we involve the end users right at the beginning of the innovation or the design process. And why do we do that? It's just because it produces better product, actually. And it's not for the pleasure of mixing disciplinarity. It's really proves that first, it brings better project to discuss with different disciplines, and everyone bring his ideas to the table. And the second thing is that it reduced risks. Thinking about people, for example, adoption, you can build beautiful things, but if actually people don't use it, so your product won't be sustainable at all. So yeah, this is actually design thinking is sitting at the middle of the three core values: technology, business, and people. Next, and what is really, really interesting, and also from a human point of view in design thinking, is that you are kind of obliged to talk with people you never talked with before. For example, software engineers doesn't often talk to end users of the software they design. Now, with agile project, with design thinking, everyone is meeting together. And actually, it's very interesting because the different point of view allows us to share ideas. And design thinking break also one myth in innovation. كان حكايات على الانوفاسيون، هي كاين واحد في الصالون تاعو ولا في لاكاف تاعو جاب اون ايدي جينيال. Et en fait, design thinking يوري باللي سي فري الاول عنده ليدي، بصح كيما قلت لكم ليدي سي البذره ولا ما عندهاش الارض الماء، et surtout المزارع يجي take care of the seed. I mean, yeah, that doesn't mean anything. And actually, the most of it, the innovation is coming from collective intelligence. And design thinking allows to do collective intelligence. Next. One thing that happened the last years, and it's very important for social entrepreneurship, is now, I'm actually not exactly aligned with this picture, but it has its advantage that now environment is part of the viability of the project, and actually it's more and more coming into the business viability. In the current economy, you cannot. I mean, it's difficult to defend a product that don't have this kind of environmental values. Next. And so we have a lot of problems. Why design thinking is particularly interesting to solve these particular big problems is that next, actually design thinking, when you meet with different people and you have the structure to exchange idea, next slide, Design thinking allows you to see all the problems as opportunities because it allows innovation. Next, but what is innovation? Actually, when you think about innovation, you think about technology. And now everyone would like to build a platform or build a mobile app or things like that. Actually, innovation is a bit more than that. Next. So these are the obvious thing when we think about technology, we think about that when we think about innovation. But actually, innovation is much more than that. Yes, go. Yeah, no. You can move. Next slide. Actually, innovation is not always linked to technology. And here I wanted to share with you this startup I was mentoring 2 years ago. Actually, these 2 girls that are just near me in the photo, they are 3, actually these 3 girls had the idea that there will be an opportunity to put kindergartens, les crèches, داخل حبوا يديروا des crèches داخل ديار العجزة. C'est original comme idée. It's a very disruptive idea. But actually, when we worked on their idea together, it happens that it's a very interesting idea because in an elderly houses, ديار العجزة, you have a medical infrastructure and it's kind of a safe place. So when these girls look at these elderly people houses, they think, okay, but why don't we use the areas to bring the children's there? And so, children and elderly people bring a lot the one to the others. But actually, from a business point of view, it was really interesting because they benefit from the medical infrastructure of the elderly house. So it's particularly safe for children. And in the same time, they are also bringing a new incomes to the elderly house. يعني les parents تاع هاد les enfants اللي يخلوهم في ديار العجزة، les parents يخلصوا باش يديروا الولاد تاعهم في لاكريش. So they found and we worked together on the business model in order to balance between a startup and a partner, because the elderly house is a partner to this newly startup, to this new startup. First of all, it's an example of innovation that it's not technology related. It's a very alors, c'est rentable. La startup, la dernière levée de fonds, ils ont levé 1 million d'euros. Pour leur levée de fonds, وراهم رايحين pour leur 5e projet. عندهم 2 ans d'âge. Qui نخمو la complexité تاع leur projet, parce que la responsabilité, كاين بزاف la responsabilité في هذا le projet. Mais ça devient un modèle qui est très rentable, où une partie, part of their business now is to give consulting services to elderly people, elderly houses, in order to develop their own kindergartens in their houses. So it's an example of non-technological, very innovative and successful startup. Next, if you want to know more about that, just reach out to me. As I said, design thinking is very special process to build product. It's very new because it's focusing on the end user, the customer. Most of the time it's the same, but we'll discuss that later. And there are a few years ago, it was very complex to find a word like empathy in a development process, a product development process. But actually, empathy is very important in the process because it's empathy toward your users. You have to feel, in our industry, we say you have to be in the shoes of your user. بالعربية نقولوا il faut تحسلو. Il faut تحسوا vraiment كاع les utilisateurs تاعكم. Donc c'est pour ça دوك نهضروا من قبل ومن بعد كيفاش تعرفوهم. Mais vraiment il faut يسكنوا لكم في راسكم. أنا at my office I have the persona description of my software in front of me. I have to validate all my ideas looking at my users and does that match exactly one critical need they have. The second thing is defining, so creating a point of view. Then we have the ideation phase. We will talk later about how to run this ideation workshop because it's not an easy part of it, but it's really necessary. The prototyping, very, very important in this methodology is prototyping. And here we have to talk about what is a prototype. A prototype is the smallest part of your product that you can validate with this small part, the value to your end user. The only usefulness of the prototype is to allow the end user to project himself in a product. And that's it. It don't have to be beautiful. It don't have to be exhaustive. It's even don't have to be feasible, actually. In very first step of your project, your prototype has just to describe the idea to the user so he can tell you, oh, yes, I imagine to do this and this with this prototype. Or at the opposite, oh, I'm not understanding what that brings to me. And prototyping, it's a very, and I like low fidelity mockups because it's also make things easier to talk with the users, because sometimes when things are too polished, لو كان ديروا des prototypes شبان بزاف, c'est du vécu, الناس يحشموا يقولوا لكم بصح لا ما يمشيش. En fait, vraiment, les prototypes, it has to be quick. We say quick and dirty, but not too dirty, but quick is very, very important. Then you test with the users, you gather feedback, and you iterate regularly. Next. نور إلي قولي لي برك شحال الوقت بقى لي باش نادابتي لا فيتيس.
Dès que si ça dépasse, je te tiendrai au courant, je te dirai. Mais là, ça va.
راني سافا.
Oui, ça va, ça va.
رانا سافا. Alors, كيفاش ديروا design thinking? phase vraiment très importante باش ديروا design thinking. Les ateliers design thinking, donc هضرنا باللي نتلاقاو donc des commerciaux تاع business, des ingénieurs, des utilisateurs, end users, engineers, business people, also sometimes experts. They are all you can imagine in a room, but this is in the old world. Now it's in virtual rooms, but still we have to, the goal is to find the best idea altogether. And these core values are very important in order to help with the design process is association. Association is creating a link between things that at first hand doesn't have exactly something to do the one with the other. Let me give an example. as I said, for example, in algorithmics, for example, some of the experts in algorithmics in the 16th were fascinated by j'ai un trou de mémoire كيفاش نقولوا النمل بالانجلي bon النمل النمل society. Actually, they look at how this society is working. Ah, il y a quelqu'un qui m'a trouvé? كيفاش نقولوا النمل؟ Ant, thank you. Thank you, Mariam. Ant society. وكي شافوا the ant society, they look at how this society is, the individuals of this society is interconnected, and they think about programs that works the same way. Actually, the startup I was talking about was also an association of two things that from externally, they don't have nothing to do, you know, elderly houses and kindergartens. Why do we associate these two things? In design thinking, you have to open your mind. There's a slide later where I will advise to have the heads up. You have to think about the world around, and don't be afraid to create something wild associations, because you can be inspired by a domain and translate that into your domain. In the same idea, observing, raising your awareness. And this is something that is very difficult to do when you have a startup, because you tend to focus on your problem and only your problem. And it's totally normal, understandable, because you also have to be quick to have short-term result. But sometimes observing the market, reading the news, observing what's happening, what are the trends, and also observing the usage outside is very, very important for your business. Experimenting, we talk about prototyping, and also it's celebration of fails. In design thinking, as I said, it's a human process. First of all, it's collaborative. So we are all together in the same boat. And it's very important to have this team spirit. But also, we celebrate failures, because we know if we fail early in the process, then we have better chance to be successful after. So test your ideas, whatever it is, and also celebrate fails, because failure is learning lessons. On apprend beaucoup de ces échecs. نتعلموا بزاف من الحوايج اللي ما نجحوش كثر من اللي الحوايج اللي نجحوا، باسكو كي نجحوا حوايج نكونوا برك فرحانين، بصح كي نخسروا حاجه نسيو او موان نتعلموا باش ما نعاودوش الاخطاء اللي درناها في لا بروميير اكسبيريونس. Questioning, if you have to be curious, very, very extremely curious, and don't be afraid to appear like a silly person. There's no silly questions. They're just stupid answers sometimes. But ask your users, ask your business angels. Also ask the how might. It's the what if reflex. And what if we do differently? What will happen if we do this differently? And also the networking. Networking with other entrepreneurs, but also networking with, again, startups that maybe don't have the same problems that you, but a lot of things is coming from the networking. Next. Thank you. Next slide, please. I'm showing where I am. Okay. We talk about celebrating failures. of course, when you're an entrepreneur, but even when you are an R&D project lead like I do, actually we fail a lot. But the thing the nice advice I like in this slide is that when you are not falling in love with your idea, but falling in love with your problem, actually fails are much easier to manage. And in design thinking, Karim was citing, I think it was Einstein this morning, that problem is 80% of the solution. And actually it's true. And I remember one of my professors at Bebzour was telling that often, that you are engineers, your role is first to understand the problems. And actually it's really true from the real life. When you invest a lot of time in modelizing your problem, actually the solution are emerge naturally and are more robust. So invest time in your problem. And here next, I have an example when another startup that I mentored last year, these guys have decided to launch a business. Next slide, please. It's a startup called Vesto. And هما البيزنس موديل تاعهم سيتي لي ريستورون اللي يغلقوا. En fait فاقوا باللي لي ريستورون كي يغلقوا عندهم الماتيريال غالي بزاف بصح très difficile à recycler. C'est un problème qui est très compliqué. وهما ديسيداو يديروا une plateforme. كي نقول لكم هكا صالير فاسيل بصح bon, رانا نهضروا على دي فريغو اندستريال لي شامبر فرواد عفايس فريمون كبار ماشي سي با لو بون كوان كو. وهاد لي 3 جون دو غارسون اون في ديسيداو يديروا اون بلاتفورم فوالا كي كاين ريستورون يغلق اي با يحط son stock de matériel الماتيريال تاعو يحطو فوق لا بلاتفورم وكاين لي ريسيكلور لي كاس يروحوا في لا بلاتفورم يلقاو. الوغ لا بروبليماتيك وعلاش خدمنا معاهم باسكو نضحكوا مي كاين ان بروبليماتيك فينانسيير. Il se trouve que le marché تاع l'occasion c'est pas toujours un marché très formel en fait. يعني c'est le marché noir en fait. كاين بزاف المارشي نوار في هذا المارشي وهما كي دير لا بلاتفورم عندك responsabilité fiscale. عندك لي زامبو دونك ان فيت حنا كونسونطرينا على هاد البروبليم بلاتفورم باينه كاين ديجا لي بلاتفورم ماتيريال دوكازيون تبيعوا ان ريسيكلور سا لير سامبل بصح كان هاد لا بروبليماتيك تاع لا فيسكاليتي من اللور جوزنا عليها بزاف الوقت داروا بون افونساو سيتي en 2019 ils ont lancé leur start-up février 2020. شايفين شويه février 2020 صراو شي عفايس في لو موند février 2020 en fait كان بزاف لي ريستورون غلقوا في فرنسا février 2020 صح ما كانش كاع لي ريسيكلور يشريو لهم ماتيريال دونك ils se sont retrouvés avec beaucoup de matériel بصح il y a plus d'acheteurs et donc c'est un vrai problème pour eux. C'est-à-dire que le business model تاعهم ما كانش il marche plus ما يمشيش مع الكوفيد. Le problème c'est que le Covid il dure malheureusement يحفظنا ان شاء الله mais il commence à durer longtemps. وعلاش c'est un bon exemple تاع fall in love with your problem not with your solution parce que كي صرات لهم هاد البروبليم gros problème في février en fait عاودوا ولاو la description تاع البروبليم au tout début. C'est quoi notre valeur, en fait? Bon, je fais vite. 6 mois après, في mois d'août, en fait, تبدلوا من plateforme compagnie ولاو real life company. En fait, دركا عندهم leur propre entrepôt. It's a plant, actually. They decided to pivot. This is what we call pivoting the business model from a platform to actually they become recyclers. And now, yeah, we are crossing fingers. Inshallah, they will succeed. But it was really, really hard for them. But the fact that they spend their time knowing very well their market, very well the problem they want to solve, really was an asset for them. Next, je sais pas ce qu'il y a après. En fait. Okay. So I hope I was able to explain you what is the mindset of design thinking, this collaboration and all that stuff. But collaboration, it's not an easy thing to do, especially when I'm saying collaborating with people that are different from different disciplines. So next, one thing very important in design thinking is that you write your value proposition. I think you have a workshop on business model canvas later, but you will fill this this canvas, which is very important for your startup, for your business. But we will focus. Alors, tu peux passer à la slide 24. راح يجوزي زوج s'il te plaît. Actually, oui, merci. Donc, when you define your idea quickly, you have to reach out to your user. Why is it very important? Next slide. I like this history, and maybe you know this graphic. Actually, why is it important to work on the field, to feel your environment, your business environment? Because often, and we use that in the software industry, that customer described you something because he's paying. So he's imagining that, là, ça va être comme les fourmis, la balançoire en anglais, j'ai un trou. Donc, ولاك شي واحد يقدر يعاونني بلا balançoire بالانجلي. بصح en gros le client يقول لك نحب balançoire 3 étages, voilà, هو يحب le meilleur produit. Développement يدير لك une planche بصح pas exactement معلقه في les mêmes endroits. هذا الديفلوبمون بصح واش قالوا الديفلوبمون ومن بعد المانجمنت solution management يكتب لك les spécifications encore différemment. ومن بعد personne n'a trouvé حتى واحد ما لقى بالانسور بجعلوله بالانجلي. لي ديفلوبور هما يحبوا يديروا سبيد رابيد، دونك يديروا لك وات ديفلوبمنت بروغرام بون ان غرو حبيله بلانشا وفوالا. بصح الكوميرسيال هو باع لك فوتوي معلق في شجره. à la fin en fait كي نخمو لها thank you Mohammed. Swing, thank you. Actually, what the user wants was this one. Parce que شكون l'utilisateur en fait تاع une balançoire هو ولد صغير. ولد صغير واش يحب؟ تحط له بنو معلق في الشجره نميد بالحاله. لا ميتافور هذا وعلاش هذا ليكزامبل اللي انتريسون باسكو ولا قالوا لك دي الديبي بلي تقدر تبيع بنو معلق في الشجره en fait ربحت الوقت باسكو ما تبنيش ني فوتوي ني عفسه بيزار. C'est plus simple it's easier for the development to program that, and actually it's more viable. This is why talking to user is an infinite source of information for you. But how to do that? Next slide. Okay, you won't do that. I mean, you cannot enter the brain of your user. You have to talk with them. And first of all, you have to know them. And in order to know them, next, it's very important to retain that you're not making people want things. You have to make things people want. So you have to identify very precisely what your user wants. Next. And to do that, it's very simple. Go out of the building. Next. Go outside. Don't do theory. Go and speak to your customers. It's a matter of reducing risks in your business. Next. And one tip regarding the users is that in terms of volume, you always have the mass of your users. You always have your like common user. Okay, I do a mobile application or a social media. Okay, I have a social media project. I will target, let's say, the 15, 35 age-wise that have a mobile phone, and so to say. You get the thing. But be careful to look at the edge users, because in terms of volumes, they are not they are not a lot. But next slide, these are the ones that bring you the most of knowledge. Give you an example. In my PhD, I was in charge of designing the information system of public transportation. Again, modelizing human strategy to deliver the right information in the public transportation. كي عطاو لي هذا البروجي دونك درناه user centric, c'est-à-dire il fallait نفهموا كيفاش الناس يتعاملوا بالانفورماسيون دي فواياجور في لي تراموي en particulier. باش نفهم bon, j'ai suivi 36 personnes, donc c'était beaucoup d'investissement. Une personne qui a donné beaucoup les informations, elle a la stratégie, c'est un monsieur Ama, un aveugle, a blind person. This guy was absolutely amazing in understanding the problems and taking action right away. And actually, when I understood how he's doing that, the insight I get was was driving the design for all the people. And so elderly people, take care about accessibility, take care about people that don't know to read, les illettrés, les handicapés, les minorities. Look at these guys. Don't look only on one on your average user. Yeah, think about that. Next slide, please. How to do very practically usability test or user research. My advice to you is always be 2 of you, and also involve someone else from the project that can be, for example, a technical person. If you have a developer, for example, bring him with you observing the users. It has to be, everyone has to be aligned on the business value of the project. And he can play the note taker. Very good job for him. Next, the average of users that you have, it's minimum, it's 6. You have to have, from my experience, you have to have talked to 6 persons. Eventually, future users of your service or product, to have a kind of clear idea if your things are going the right way. It's also ensure a kind of diversity. Next. So this is for the persona. We call that the users, the persona. You will find this kind of words there. I would like to spend 5 minutes just, or no, maybe 2 minutes regarding the times left, but 2 minutes talking about the collaboration best practices. It's not a given thing to collaborate in design thinking. Because imagine you are putting in the same place people from different backgrounds that have to work together and end up with the solution. And also people have to feel free to express all the ideas. And there are some principles I would like to share with you for your brainstorming or meeting sessions that are very important to make things actually productive. Next. First of all, I mentioned the heads up mindset. focus on possibilities, building imagination, be open-minded. It's the time now in your project when you can have all crazy ideas, but also all crazy solutions. Maybe someone has saw something in the television yesterday, and that will help a lot your project. And it's very important to build this collaborative mindset in your project so people can bring ideas as easy as possible. The next is be visual. Draw. Don't write, draw. Draw on post-its, draw on white paper, draw on the wall. Communication is much more easier when it's visual. Also, from a cognitive point of view, it has been proven that an idea that is transformed in something mobile, physically mobile, is much more تدخل أكثر في مخكم une idée حطيتوها سواء درتو بروتوتيب ولا رسمتوها ولا درتو حاجة هاد l'idée عندها أكثر chance de survie que une idée تبقى برك une idée في راسكم. Donc رسموا surtout الرسم c'est très important pour la conception de produit. Next, ou de préférence رسموا بالcrayon ماشي في l'ordinateur parce que l'ordinateur, quoi qu'on en pense, l'ordinateur il prend beaucoup de temps. Un papier et un stylo, c'est beaucoup plus efficace souvent. C'est pour ça que les entreprises دركا عندنا مليار les post-it. وين تروح تلقى les post-it parce que en fait c'est plus efficace. Next, go for quantity. La créativité, c'est la quantité. Donc mettre à fauche, ترميو les idées, vraiment il y a une phase de design thinking au début où on ouvre toutes les idées possibles. On met un process, mettre à fauche parce que quand il y a un process, il y a des idées وحدهم, c'est pas grave. بصح لو كان كاين une petite idée مليحة dès le début, il faut vraiment pouvoir l'exprimer. Next, le même ordre d'idées, encourage wide ideas. C'est-à-dire même, il faut aller voir, il faut تروحوا تشوفوا des domaines اللي ما علاقاش كاع بواش راكو ديروا. C'est comme ça que les Airbnb ils sont nés parce que راحوا شافوا des domaines اللي ما علاقاش كاع مع l'hôtellerie. C'est comme ça qu'ils ont inventé des nouveaux business models. Next, le jugement. Alors هذه حاجة عندنا بزاف حنايا les scientifiques, c'est le jugement. C'est-à-dire c'est bien ou c'est pas bien. وهذا it's an idea killer. Saying that something is good or wrong is really an idea killer. So defer judgment. Don't judge now. I mean, you can defer. Everything is worth to say at a moment in time. Next, build on the idea of others. It's also a nice concern. Copiage مليح في design thinking. L'innovation, c'est pas l'invention. Il y a une différence entre l'innovation et l'invention. Il y a des innovations qui n'ont existé avant, en fait. Ou الناس برك داوهم ou رجعوهم scalable, par exemple. Donc, il n'y a aucun... Bien sûr, qu'il y a l'IP, vous respectez les propriétés intellectuelles, بصح s'il y a quelque chose qui marche ou là واحد آخر قال لكم عنده une idée, بدا بune idée, il faut pas avoir d'ego. C'est-à-dire معليش تبنيو au contraire في les idées تاع الآخرين. S'interrompre, كل واحد il faut كاع نهضروا في un atelier design thinking. C'est plus next, c'est très important de faire attention للناس اللي ما يهضروش parce que souvent عندهم des bonnes idées بصح c'est pas toujours facile. كاع الناس ما يقدروش يهضروا هكا en public ولا. Donc كي كاين un chef de projet ولا il faut تروحوا تهضروا تسيو تشوفوا مع الناس. Les utilisateurs c'est pareil. كاين des utilisateurs ما يهضروش معاكم naturellement. Donc one conversation at a time, c'est-à-dire il faut pas s'interrompre, ما نقطعوش الكلام باش كل واحد il s'exprime à ça comme il faut. Et le dernier truc, bien sûr, راه حلينا بزاف البيبان de partout, les idées راحين يخرجوا de partout. Next slide. At the end, there must be someone that keeps bring everything focusing on the topic. And it's really something that someone has to do in this brainstorming, that we let everything goes in all the direction, but at the moment in time stay focused on the topic. كاين بزاف لي زوتي في design thinking. دوك تلقاو في الانترنت بزاف لي زوتي ولا سحقيتو. انا جو فو كونساي فريمون بداو. انا لي دو زوتي ان توكا كي نبدا ان بروجي دايوغ راني دركا depuis janvier راني sur un nouveau projet. Les deux outils principaux انايا عندي c'est persona definition, c'est-à-dire la fiche, le portrait robot, the description of your end user, and that's what we call the persona definition. That describes the real need of your user. Who is he? And there is it's interesting for you, as I said, at a moment in time, if you have to make priority choices, you can go back to the persona definition and say, okay, if I change this in my idea, will that match with a user need? And also it's also allow all the people to empathize, to be in the shoes of the user. And the second thing is next is the user journey. La cartographie des parcours. Alors, c'est important parce que, admettons par exemple de dérouler un nouveau service, c'est important de dérouler le parcours qui fait بلا السيرفيس تاعكم كيفاش الحالة راهي دركا. c'est-à-dire ولا نحب ندير une tâche كيفاش راني ندير دركا ومن بعد بالسيرفيس تاعي واش راح نبدل في الباركور utilisateur. Oui.
Khalida, s'il te plaît, est-ce que tu peux éteindre ton micro?
Oui, pas de souci.
Tu n'arrives pas à l'éteindre? Ah, voilà.
Donc, ouais, la cartographie des parcours ou la user journey, c'est important. Anna, personnellement, c'est les premiers trucs que l'Indirhom fait un projet design thinking avec mes collègues. C'est شكون هما les personas تاعنا ou c'est quoi la cartographie تاع leur parcours اليوم وكي ندخلوا حنايا notre fonctionnalité ou notre fonctionnalité ou notre produit واش راح يتبدل. C'est très important parce que دوك تلقاو les choses اللي راح نتبدلوهم. Je sais jamais si c'est نتيا اللي راكي تقولي لي بلي طول.
Non. Je pense qu'elle s'est trompée, elle a touché le micro.
D'accord.
Un participant.
Voilà. La deuxième technique, la visualisation, qui m'a dit comme il faut être très très visuel في design thinking. Ça met tout le monde à l'aise. It makes everyone more relaxed to communicate by visuals, by drawings, or also by image you picked in the internet, than writing things. Writing is most of the time a blocker in creativity. Next. Next slide, s'il te plaît, Noor. Le prototypage. Quand comme déjà le prototypage, attention les complexes dans le prototypage. Be careful to. It has to be good enough. Just good enough. And as soon as you have good enough, go test it with the users. Because the earlier you have your feedback, the earlier you can align your design with that. You have problem assumption, cartography, stakeholders map. There's a lot of tools actually that you can use. Don't get lost. It's okay. It's the same thing as design thinking. You have first to identify what is your need, and then you will find the right tool to fulfill your need. Don't go for an overview and analysis of all what is existing on Google for design thinking. There's a lot to mention. Next. Experiment board and brainstorming. So I will let you see the experiment board is really closely related to prototyping. And brainstorming is a technique. When you run a brainstorming workshop, you have to moderate it because it has to focus on the topic. Nevertheless, be careful of two things that are in brainstorming. The goal is to open ideas, and sometimes we tend to judge on the idea of others. And brainstorming is really made to open to new proposal. So the advice of deferred judgment is very important in brainstorming. And one last thing, there is cognitive bias. You know, our brain, our human brain has its own bias. C'est-à-dire المخ تاعنا عنده واحد لي ميكانيزم وحده، وكاين واحد نعيطوا لهم لي بيي ما تحسوا لهمش نتوما، بصح ان فات هما اللي يديونا vers جهه بلوتو كو جهه واحده اخرى. وكاين واحد لو بيي واسمو لو بيي دو كونفيرماسيون. هاد لو بيي دو كونفيرماسيون ان فات يديكم توجور vers la zone de confort. وكي كاين واحد ليدر في البروجي سوفون الناس يروحوا vers les idées تاع هذا لو ليدر. Et en fait, le biais de confirmation, c'est un biais de sécurité. المخ تاعنا avec داير très bien, عنده فيها حكمة. En fait, c'est pour garder dans le... Oh, Khalida is not hearing. So I let you know. So بالكوا في les brainstorming, vraiment, il faut éviter le biais de confirmation. Il faut s'inquiéter. Qui رانا كاع نديروا les mêmes idées, ça veut dire que رانا داخلين في البيئة de confirmation ورانا كاع فرحانين parce que رانا d'accord. بصح en fait design thinking c'est là aussi, c'est dans le conflit. على بها جاي في l'intersection تاع trois cercles parce que en fait c'est une question de conflit. La créativité جايه souvent les conflits, c'est des conflits qui sont contrôlés, qui sont maîtrisés et qui sont positifs. Donc voilà, il ne faut pas avoir peur d'avoir des idées. حتى واحد ما هو d'accord معاهم. Ça arrive, c'est pas grave. Au contraire, c'est créatif. Next slide. Donc la chaîne de valeur, le mind mapping, نخليكم تقراو parce que vraiment ما على باليش ولا ما رانيش retard. نور تقول لي normalement. La chaîne de valeur, c'est important parce que qui a comme un business, je pense تشوفوها في البيزنس موديل parce que ça fait partie du canevas, l'analyse de la valeur تاع votre تاع الفكره تاعكم في l'écosystème مع les partenaires تاعكم parce que une société c'est jamais tout seul. كاع les entreprises عندهم des partenaires, كاين des liens de partenariat, كاين les clients. Donc analyser sa chaîne de valeur dans son écosystème. L'écosystème, c'est important. Ou le mind mapping, c'est aussi une technique. It's a technique that helps you organize and visualize again this idea of things are visible, so things are clearer. And we use that a lot when we do mentoring with startups because we only have 2 or 3 hours. So we have to be very efficient. And so we use a lot mind mapping so that at the end of the workshop or the meeting, we have a kind of big picture of, okay, our ideas went in all the direction. And it's a good way to, I would say, record all what happened in a meeting. Next one. Next slide. Yeah, and so it's the last slide. I mentioned a quote from Oscar Wilde, and I think it's very relevant for you. What I heard from your ideas, they are very impressive ideas. And yeah, I wanted this remind me of this quote from Oscar Wilde: "Shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you land among the stars." And yeah, I would like to encourage you to shoot for the moon, because yeah, your ideas are very nice. So all the risk you take is that you land among the stars. And I hope this session have opened some methodologies that will help you make your seed a big tree, and hopefully a forest in the future. So I think it's the last slide of my presentation. I hope everyone is still awake. And yeah, at your I'm available for question if you have, or anything I can help with. Thanks for listening to me.
Merci beaucoup, Assia. Merci
You're
beaucoup.
welcome.
Alors, si vous avez des questions, n'hésitez pas à les poser en bas pour qu'on puisse répondre.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I have kind of a question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you. So in the step of having an idea of project, when we are developing the idea, how to know what's the best way to improve it, and to know if this idea will succeed or not?
Good question. We are all in the same problem. 15 years of innovation, and I have exactly the same question. Actually, you never know if your idea will succeed. It's all about probability.
Yes.
First of all, it's a human feeling. You have to believe yourself in your idea. And it's something important, actually, to believe in your idea, because you will be attacked by a lot of people who will challenge your idea. So
Yes.
first of all, you have to believe in it. And it's the first, usually, especially women, actually, I have to say, we are the best enemy of ourselves. So if you tell yourself that if you believe in your idea, there's a chance that it's a good one.
Yes.
So this is the first step. You have to yourself to believe in your idea. The second thing is that you have teams and mentors. Listen to feedback. Listen, be open to all the feedback. That doesn't mean that you have to take all the feedback as granted, if they are true, but still feedback is a gift. So you believe in your idea, you listen to your first environment feedback. So if your idea is still surviving, there's a chance that it's even, yeah, it's better and better. After that, you have all the tools, kind of business model canvas, prototyping, and all that things. All that things will, it's a work, but innovation is a work. But all that tools will make you challenge and more challenge your idea. And it's kind of a refinement process. And at the end, your idea will change a little bit. It will change. It can pivot, but it will be refined. But you never know in the beginning if an idea is good. And it's also a question of what is a good idea, actually. It's a large question. Is it viable? So you have success criteria that you will fix in your business canvas. So all the work you are doing will make your idea be shaped as a successful one, but you start with one idea, and at the end, with all the work you will do, you will end up with an even more successful one. Does that help?
Yes. Yes. I have another question, if you allow me.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you. What if when we invest our time in modelizing the problem, in the different steps of building the idea, we end up thinking that the idea need some change, some changements and new improvement, new development things. Is it okay to do these changements even if they will give us more steps than we did? Kind of, we will change a lot of in the work.
I think I understood. It's about, I will try to rephrase my understanding of the question. It's you're asking if you, during the process of this problem analysis, you understood that the idea of the beginning has to change to solve the problem, right?
Yes, yes.
Actually, it's interesting because in design thinking, if you see the process, actually there's no idea in the beginning. There's a problem. The idea is emerging from the problem analysis. And you know what I mean? I mean,
yes.
For climate change, for example, we have a problem. Everyone is aware that there is a problem, except Donald Trump, but there is a problem. We know that there is a problem, but there are two approaches. Some people will tell you, okay, I have the solution to this problem. It's this. And there are other people that will say, okay, maybe it's worth spending time analyzing the problem and then bringing the idea. So this is interesting in your question. When you have an idea in the beginning, maybe when you analyze the problem, you will have to have a kind of intellectual agility and forget about your idea for a while and see the problem with new eyes for a while. You know that in the background of your mind that you would like to use this technology, for example. We all have that. But when you analyze the problem, you have to avoid this confirmation bias, you know, le biais de confirmation, that you will always be bring back to your first idea. So it's, I think it's part of the process to get rid of your initial idea and to see only the status quo, the problem, how it is. And
yes. I got
Thank you so much, Zina, for your question. Thank you, Miss Assia, for the presentation. We have a question from Hisham. He says, actually, really cool question. He says, is it a bad thing if we start by saying go big or go home? What do you think about that?
Go big or go home.
Sometimes, we raise the bar too high. So the people who has ideas, maybe they think that they have really to make an impact really quickly and miss the opportunity to test the idea, to give it a chance. So perhaps I believe the approach of Hisham is to say, is it too quickly to say, to validate the idea, like go big or go home, or perhaps we need to do a validation for the idea? What do you think about this?
I must, usually we say think big and start small, because I think when you think big and start small, you have it's easier for you to to throw your idea to the trash, actually. So
Yes, I believe this is what Hisham means, that we talked about judgmental, like we being sometimes judgmental on the idea. When we are in the idea phase, we judge a lot the idea and we don't give it like even a try. So maybe the challengers here that have project, we invite you to validate your idea through your market, through your client. So maybe in the beginning you will have an idea, but when you go to market, when you ask your client, you will do pivot. So you will change maybe somehow your idea. And this is what Zineb, she was talking about also. Maybe you will start with an idea, but when you go to the market validation, you will find out that your client are requesting for more or more details, and you will try to customize the initial one, the initial idea. So
and also something, I mean, don't underestimate the fact that the feedback may bring you a brand new idea. Actually, it's about challenging the first one, but sometimes it's end up okay that it's not working, and you know, the sharks have eaten your idea, but actually it can also bring you a new one. And there's a lot of, if you read some biography about founders, you're surprised how many pivoting they did after testing ideas, and you're not prisoner of your idea, of your first idea. The pivot can be 118, and it's okay, but we have to know it as soon as possible.
Yes, thank you so much. And that actually lead us to my question. I would like to ask you, like, there is a big wave about entrepreneurship, about entrepreneurial mindset, especially entrepreneurial, social entrepreneurship. So what do you think about that? How it can contribute to our economy? And what make us maybe one of the Mediterranean countries that we can lead in this region? How you can see social entrepreneurship actually will help Algeria and help the region in general?
Thank you for the question. I think social entrepreneurship, first of all, there's a lot of pedagogy to do about social entrepreneurship as a business. I often explain to some of my colleagues that these are entrepreneurs. I mean, it's social entrepreneurs, but it's first entrepreneurs, and they are contributing to the economy. And if you ask me about my ideal, not my ideal word, but my ideal next 5 years, is that actually all the economy, a big part of the economy, will be led by social entrepreneurs. Because for me, social entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs that have values on top, but they are not NGOs. So if I
you have to generate profit. Yes,
absolutely. Interesting is currently I'm mentoring a lady who's thinking about a social thing. She's between an NGO, a corporation. She's not yet about that, and I had to discuss with her some days ago that, but how would you live? And she was so her topic is to find houses for women that are homeless. You imagine, it's a big objective. I mean, it's such a big goal, and she has a lot of ideas on that. But at the end of the day, I had to ask her, okay, but to do all that, how would you eat? How would you? What will be your income? I think it's very important to say that social entrepreneurship is a business that that have to again, it's a business with a value on top. And when saying that, we can defend that social entrepreneurship is part of the real economy. For example, at SAP, we have a champion for social entrepreneurship, a colleague that is defending that, and he's making metrics about what the social entrepreneurship, the fact that we SAP employee contribute to social entrepreneurship actually benefits to the company. And he worked on metrics to measure that. And he's now defending the fact that, okay, even regular business is benefiting from social entrepreneurship. So I think it's, again, when the most, the big part of the economy will be led by social entrepreneur, if they, again, they have to think about their business model to be sustainable. Yeah, I think the economy will be much more better, not only in Mediterranean countries, but everywhere.
Amazing, Assia. Thank you so much. I have a question my own, but I'm waiting also for the participant. If they have any question, you can ask them through the chat, or you can.
Excuse me, may I ask another question?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. You are a tech engineer, but you gave us in the presentation kind of an idea from an eye of a manager. So does it need to build all these projects and business ideas to we need to build that in our profiles to improve this entrepreneurial projects?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Very good question. It leads to soft skills. Don't underestimate the importance of having soft skills.
Yes.
Leadership is very important. Leadership doesn't mean being the boss. Even if you're the boss, you have to be recognized as a boss because it's part of the job. Nevertheless, leadership is an attitude. And when I was talking about these big workshops, design thinking workshop, you can imagine when I have a workshop with my colleague, they are very senior, but also my customers in the same room. If there's a need of leadership skills in order to, not control, but get the things under control. It's very important, this attitude part. And the second thing is the human values, the respect for diversity, respect of diverse ideas. These are very important for the success of the product, of the project. And the last thing is communication. As entrepreneurs, you have to, and I encourage you to go and listen to TED Talks about, and I know you will have session about pitching, but communication is very important because you will communicate a lot. We are in a communication economy. Everything has to be communicated. Well, one of my colleagues said, if you don't talk about it, it even don't exist. And actually it's true. And communication is skills. There are techniques for that. So of course you can be a super engineer if you don't have leadership, if you don't have respect to others, and if you don't have communication skills. I can guarantee you that your business is not sustainable.
So true. Thank you so much, Assia. And as you as you already spoken about, leadership is not about rank, it's about attitude. And when you're talking about this set of skills, communication, respect, leadership, as we can see, like most of them are skills that you can learn about. So it's not inner. So it's not, you're not born with it. So that will lead us to my final question for me. Maybe others, they have one. But my final question, what is the skill set that you think that my entrepreneurs in general must have? And as we can say, they can learn about it. So it's not inner. They will not born with.
Thank you. I can only make a testimony of my experience.
Exactly. From actually from your experience, from the people that you saw through your mentorship experiences, what are the main skills that like make proof of the entrepreneurial mindset for you?
For me, it was an eye-opening when I discovered the word of communication, actually. I am an engineer, I made a PhD, I always was in research laboratory. And after that, of course, I do consulting. So I had to develop some skills to deal with customers, with users and some things like that. But the word of communication is a word by itself in terms, for example, of strategy. You have to build a communication plan. It's a real plan. I mean, it's like, you know, a war plan. You have to optimize your effort, for example. And I like discussing with my colleagues who are expert in communication, and they tell me, okay, you have, I mean, it's a lot of effort to do communication. So you have to be very smart and choose, for example, the right social media to communicate aligned with your customer base, with your target. Everything regarding marketing is something that is amazingly formalized. And this communication part of it, I had to learn about it. I'm not good in everything. And when I have some complex parts, I reach out to experts. But I think in the world that we are in, communication is really important. And it's not communication like, you know, advertisement, like we were thinking about it in the past. Now with the social media, with a lot of events, with virtual events, etc., you have to develop this kind of skills and be ready to go to present in a very efficient manner your idea, be impactful, and do that in the right channel. For me, that was an important, at least something I had to learn by myself. There's also the videos that I don't like, but it's crazy, the numbers of people that ask you to do videos, just like we were all actors now. So I have to learn about that, but this is my weakness, I would say. I don't like videos. The second thing is the word is a village. And I'm really interested in intercultural. And sometimes I think I had some experience with startups that made research and find their partners in Malaysia, and they were from France. And it's kind of things that were not happening in the past. But now, as the world is a village, being very curious and seeing the business at a world level is very important and not something easy, because again, you have to optimize your time when you're an entrepreneur, and you have to take care of your health too, of yourself. So being smart in investing in the good battles is very important. And maybe this is a skill by itself, being strategic in your time management. Is important. And maybe I will put that in the second: communication, time management, and maybe be curious about what's happening even in the other side of the world.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Assia, for all the recommendations or the knowledge that you've been given through this workshop. We really appreciate your presence today. We ask our audience if they have any other questions. Please ask them. If not, we will ask you to give us like small last advice for this generation that are interested in climate change. We are very pleased to have a very wise generation, creative. They are between 16 to 26 years old, and they are engaged with the environment. So what would be your last advice for them, and how they will be engaged in the entrepreneurial world?
Thank you, Amira. Thank you all for having me today. Thank you for listening to my humble advice to you. Last advice is believe in you. The word is yours. The word is not anymore the property of the ones that criticize you. You are the future. So the word is yours. Believe in your ideas, and if you believe in it, you will do it. No one can prevent you from doing something that you believe in. And I'm really impressed by your level, very proud of my my Algerian youngest generation, and very proud of our curiosity again towards science and technology, because the future is big part of the future is around science and technology, and it's amazing how our countries is worth of this curiosity towards STEM. So believe in you, you will do it, and yeah, you deserve all our admiration for going to this challenge. Thanks for having me, and yeah, see you soon. I'm looking forward to see all your projects being trees.
Thank you so much again, Mrs. Assia. I give now the lead to Noor to close this session. Noor, are you still with us?
Allô?
Yes, Noor.
Allô? Oui, je suis là. Alors, merci beaucoup, Assia. Merci beaucoup. Je pense que ça a donné des idées claires un peu à tout le monde, surtout nos participants. Bon, je ne sais pas si Sofiane, il est là encore avec nous ou pas. Est-ce que tu es là, Sofiane? Allô, Sofiane? Allô, Sofiane? Je pense qu'il n'est pas là. Je pense qu'il n'est pas là. Bon, bah, merci encore une fois. Merci encore à tous les participants qui sont présents aujourd'hui avec nous. Donc, toujours, si vous avez encore des questions, n'hésitez pas à communiquer encore vos questions sur le groupe WhatsApp. Assia est avec nous sur le groupe WhatsApp. Et voilà, donc merci encore une fois, Assia, merci Amira et merci à tous les participants.
Merci
donc, à vous. Bonne chance, bonne continuation, good luck.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Assia.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Really pleasure to have you. Juste Noor, avant de clôturer, rappelez-nous du programme. Ça sera pas.
Oui.
Ça sera quoi
Donc,
le programme
alors, à partir de demain, nous allons vous envoyer demain matin un planning, un programme de session one-to-one. Ça veut dire que تكون عندكم ساعة entre 18h ou là à 19h مع un mentor, chaque équipe. Donc لازم تكونوا كاع l'équipe تاعكم avec le mentor plutôt, de 18 à 19h ou là de 19h à 20h. Et avant le workshop en one-to-one, nous avons mis en place aussi des sessions de workshop qui mêlent les Dar Sofiane et qui mêlent les Dar Assia de 17h à 18h. Donc demain, il y aura un workshop Yamina sur la biodiversité. Et par la suite, aussi, on va enchaîner d'autres workshops sur le pitching, sur le social business model, etc. Donc, le Battle Conga, le programme par email, en détail. Donc, on communique encore sur le groupe WhatsApp et je vous enverrai l'email avec le planning de chaque groupe, chaque team avec le mentor et l'heure exacte et la date exacte durant la semaine. Et par la suite, donc, je vous enverrai en fin de semaine le programme à la demi-finale. Aussi, donc pour les deadlines, donc l'executive summary, c'est demain. Demain à 18h, envoyez-moi tous les documents. Je vous ai envoyé les liens Drive avec les 3 documents, la focus map, etc., que vous allez présenter à votre mentor durant les coachings en one-to-one. Et jeudi, donc, le pitch deck, le document du pitch que vous allez présenter en demi-finale. Il faut qu'il soit prêt ce jeudi à minuit, on va dire. Voilà. Donc, voilà comment ça va se passer.
Merci à vous, Nour.
Merci.
Non, c'était parfait.
Super.
Merci beaucoup à tous les participants اللي كانوا معنا اليوم. J'espère تكونوا استفدتوا. J'espère que تكون l'atelier تاع Monsieur Sofiane Boudjema et Madame Assia كان فاتكم. Et si vous avez des questions, n'hésitez pas تكتبوهم في le groupe de WhatsApp. وكامل les mentors ils sont là pour vous. Enrichissez votre network. هادوما les gens اللي راهم معاكم في les workshops تقدروا تلقاوهم sur les réseaux sociaux, تقدروا تلقاوهم sur LinkedIn. N'hésitez pas de poser vos questions et bon courage pour vos projets.
Et on se retrouve demain pour les sessions de coaching. Voilà. Et n'hésitez pas encore une fois d'envoyer sur WhatsApp toutes les questions que vous voulez poser et si vous avez besoin de quoi que ce soit. Voilà.
Merci encore une fois, Nour. On se voit.
Merci Amela,
alors,
merci à tout le monde.
Bye.
À demain, au revoir.
Salut l'équipe, au revoir.
Au revoir tout le monde.